WanderingWinder back with another game review here. This is a game I played against actionman, where I was first player. Let's look at the board first. We have Amulet, Sacrifice, Counterfeit, Replace, Vault, Armory, Skulk, Relic, Stables, and Horde. And very importantly, the landscapes Conquest and Fleet. Um, so the only draw here, well, there's a couple of different kinds of draw. Stables is like by far the most stable draw. Pun always intended, of course. Um, the other way that you can get draw up, though, is sacrifice on some action and then vault. This is not super reliable long term because you run out of actions to sacrifice. But it is a way to draw a little bit. Um, this stables thing gives you some amount of terminal space, which you can use on one or two amulets. You could use on sacrifice to not trash to trash something other than actions. You could use it on replace. You could use it on vault. You could use it on skulk. You could use it on armory, although I think you'd really only really be using it on armory if you're trying to do this sacrifice thing, at which point you kind of have more terminal space. But yeah. So given that's what's going on, and you can thin down well enough between amulet, sacrifice, and especially counterfeit, you probably want to draw with stables, and then you have some different options. You're going to want to be able to play a relic pretty often because why not? And you're going to be able to draw well enough, I think. You should be able to do that pretty reliably. But you could add a vault to end. You could go for some vault horde kind of thing and just try to province out. You could go for some replace horde kind of thing and try to province out while attacking them a bit. All of these seem reasonable, and I'm not going to say that I have a super strong understanding of what is actually best here. But we'll see how the game played out. I had a 2-5, so obviously I don't want an estate, a copper, or a curse onto. So I just passed at the start. My opponent goes Skulk. I'm going to speak very briefly about Skulk. I'm not a huge fan of opening Skulk here, but I don't think it's as bad as some people think. Basically, it's a little higher variance than going double silver um, in terms of how many fives you hit. You have a better chance of getting 2 5s going Skulk Silver than Silver Silver. But you have a worse chance of just making sure that you hit at least 1 5. You get very fractionally fewer fives overall. So, of course, then also you get the plus buy of the Skulk play sometimes, and you get the attack of the Skulk play sometimes. So, like, strictly speaking, overall, that's pretty close to neutral. In fact, with the attack of the Skulk play, which won't often do a ton to hurt your opponent's chances of hitting 5, but will sometimes do something. There's a couple of the discardy ones that will hurt for sure, and there's the envious, and then there's diluted if you're trying to get a action 5. All of those things combined, depending on whether you're player 1 or player 2, blah 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 blah, um, might it might be that in the head-to-head matchup, Skulk Silver prevents the opponent from getting a 5, particularly if it's an action 5, enough that in the head-to-head, the Skulk Silver ends up getting more of those action 5s, but it's quite close. The bigger thing is that Skulk Silver is more actively good if you're trying to hit 6, because there's some reasonable separation there. Skulk Silver is reasonably more likely to hit 6 on turns 3 and 4. But also, you obviously eventually have the Skulk in your deck, which may be a good thing or maybe not. Here, because you're also opening Amulet, and you're trying to trash estates with your Amulet, I think, and you can have Terminal Collision, I think that's enough to make me like the Skulk a little bit less, but regardless, overall, it's a pretty close run thing. I have my 2 5, so I have a few options on what I can get with my 5. It could be a counterfeit, a stables, or a relic, I think are the really main options. I guess you could think about replace, but I'm not too keen on it. Um, yeah, I went with counterfeit. I'm really not confident on the counterfeit. I think I don't like stables so much on at this point because it's pretty likely to come up turn 4 and then miss a shuffle, and it's not that short of a shuffle, although it's a kind of short shuffle. And just like counterfeit or relic gets me where I kind of want to be anyway. I think relic may have been better to start with, but the thinning effect of counterfeit's also good. It's very close and hard to know. I went with the counterfeit. So my opponent gets the amulet as expected. And then on turn 3, I hit 3. I get the amulet that I want. I mostly just want to trash estates with it and then get money where reasonable and maybe gain some silvers at some point. My eventual game plan is going to involve conquest a lot, as we're going to see here. So I get an amulet here on turn 3. My opponent hits 5 coppers on turn 3 and gets a counterfeit. And then I hit 5 again. Now I get the stables. Again, you could argue for relic. I think the biggest argument for the stables is that you want to win the stable split because it is by far the best draw. And so just starting on them, yeah, the effect versus relic in terms of hitting your price points enough is probably pretty small. But I want to hit 5 often enough that I can just reliably be hitting stables and then win the stable split, hopefully. My opponent plays their skulk because they have their gold, 3 estates, and a skulk. A very weird kind of money distribution for my opponent. And they miss their amulet, which you're more likely to do if you're opening with skulk because obviously there's 13 cards in the shuffle rather than 12. Another slight reason to not like the skulk if you're opening with something that's not just a silver in particular. But I get miserable, which, given how the game's going to go, is not that big of a deal. And they get a silver rather than a second amulet, which probably makes sense. They already have 2 terminals. You don't need to do a lot of trashing with your amulet because you have counterfeit, and yeah, they know their amulet missed the shuffle, so they're more likely to have collision and stuff anyway. So that's what they do there. My amulet comes in here. I have exactly 4 coppers in hand with it, so I just take the money. What I really want to do with the amulet is trash estates, and I really want to hit 5 a lot, so hitting the stables is nice. So I do that. Yeah, Action Man gets this hand where I probably would have trashed the skulk, but they just take money and buy a sacrifice, which is okay. I guess it's kind of reasonable. You can trash the skulk to it. That can do some things. You can trash estates with it instead, maybe. So here I have this interesting decision. I have this amulet in play, 3 estates. I trash one. No, if I'm tracking my deck real well, I know that these last cards are this. And if I draw both of them, then that's going to give me 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I'm going to draw another card for sure, so actually I'm guaranteed to hit 5. So it's actually not that interesting of a decision, but you really need to think through it to realize that you're going to hit 5. And I draw, yeah, thusly. And I think I'm guaranteed to hit 5, right? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Am I wrong about that? I have no money. So I stables away the copper. Oh, I'm not guaranteed to hit 5, right? I get 1. Yeah, so this does make an interesting decision like I originally thought. Sorry for the confusion there. This is... I'm going to discard the copper. I'm going to draw these 2 and something else. So if I draw a copper, which is most likely, I only hit 4, which is exactly what happens. And I decide to get another amulet. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I probably could have already just gotten silver. But it's okay. It's okay to get the second amulet because gaining silvers will be nice. Yeah, Action Man gets the stables here. Now I decide to get a relic. This is a little bit of a weird timing for the relic. Yes, I am going to be able to play it most turns by now, but also, like, don't I just want to win the stable split? So I don't know what's up with that exactly, but it's fine. It's whatever. Stables for my opponent, stables for me. Stables for my opponent, stables for me, you would think. But no, I go for counterfeit and silver. So I have 8. I would think I would go for stables and silver, because again, the stables split, but I'm just not worried about that in the actual game. So there's the stables for my opponent. And now I already go stables conquest. Again, so like you have to look at my deck. I am starting to run out of stuff, which is part of why I get the conquest here. It also gets me 5 VP because I've gotten a silver and I gained 2 silvers with my amulets. But I think I would have liked to just have another stables here instead. I just really need to get my draw up. So this is a bit of misplaying by me. My opponent gets the stables there. I get the last stables. I get another counterfeit. So now here's a little bit of a stopping point. The stables are gone. I didn't press my advantage as much as I probably could have. So I only have 5 stables. My opponent has also 5 stables. They still have some, well, they have an estate and they have a couple coppers. They have 1 amulet to my 2, although I'm going to have 1 in play basically every turn. I've started to get, this is actually 5 VP chips, but they're including the miserable here as chips. It more or less works out the same, but just, you know, FYI, this is why it's 3 points and 3 VP chips, even though I have miserable. So my opponent has a sacrifice, a skulk, and an amulet as opposed to mine. I have more silvers, right? I have especially more counterfeits. So my opponent can only buy 3 things a turn if they play their skulk, or 2 things otherwise. I can buy 4 things a turn, or if I counterfeits more. So as we see where this goes, it's going to be heavy counterfeit play. And here's an important turn. So I get to the end here. Again, I have to scroll up a little bit here because there's some problems with how counterfeit makes money work here. So I have 1 money right now at the end here. I'm not drawing my deck, so I need to be very conscious of this. So I have 1 money here, and I had 1 money from my other amulet, and I was conscious of my draw, which is why I didn't gain the silvers here with my amulets. So, but anyway, I've got 2 money. I counterfeit a silver, so this should make me 5. I should have 7. As you can see, it shows up as 5 because this doesn't get parsed right. So I have 7. I counterfeit another silver. This gets me to 12. I counterfeit another silver. This gets me to 17. So there's 3 silvers that are missing here. I have 17 money plus 4. This gets me to 21 money, 23 money. So I have 23 money and 4 buys. I take a skulk, a fleet, which is a little bit of a weird time for fleet, but whatever, it's fine. A sacrifice, because I want to feed this skulk to my sacrifice to help me draw more while I'm building. And then counterfeit. And I eventually want to get more draw, so this is the sacrifice, skulk, vault kind of stuff going on. This is my thoughts here. And then more counterfeits because I keep gaining all these silvers. Being able to trash them is nice. It gives me more money, more buys, more deck pile control. Yeah. So, okay. This is where I end up here. Action Man is still finishing cleaning their deck up. We can see they also start to move in for more counterfeits. They're up to 3 now. They have this another sacrifice and the skulk going on. Yeah. So then on this turn, I draw through with stables as much as I can, but I don't draw them all. So this is important to note. Yeah. So where is my sacrifice? Did I not get a sacrifice? Did it get trashed by... Yeah, it got trashed by locusts. So I have 3 amulets. And I don't have my sacrifice anymore. So, yeah. basically what's happening here is this is the end of the line for draw for me. Play the amulet for money. I trash all this stuff with the counterfeits. And then I have a counterfeit that can't trash anything. I go double sacrifice in a vault. I just need to draw more, right? Because, okay, how much money did I make here? I made 5 more than it's saying. So I had 15 money. Like, I am to the point I could be double provincing, but I don't think double provincing is good here because there's this huge reservoir of points from conquest, and you want to take advantage of that. Okay, my opponent goes for big conquests here already, right? They trash a bunch of stuff. War made me trash an amulet. They conquest 1, 2, 3 times, and then they gained 2 silvers off of amulets. I believe. No, they bought a silver. They gained 1 off of an amulet, and they bought a silver before that. So this is scoring them a bunch of points. The counterfeits are still around. My opponent hasn't gotten fleet yet, so that's something to keep in mind. Probably when I got it was a little bit early, but oh well. Okay, now on this turn, I draw a bunch. I sacrifice my skulk. I draw a bunch of stuff. I amulet to gain a silver here with both of these amulets. And yeah, again, I am chewing through like all of my silvers here, or almost all of them. So this is really good to know. Right, I have 1 left in my deck and 1 in my discard. I don't want to sacrifice the relic, but I'm chewing through all the silvers because I have 4 counterfeits, which is pretty important. So I want again another sacrifice to support the second vault that I'm taking, a skulk, and then just 1 conquest. I need some more money, but I want to make sure my draw is up. So a couple sacrifices. This is 3 now for me. An extra skulk, and then these amulets. And then my opponent goes quite big here. Pretty big anyway. They do have fleet at this point. Maybe I missed when they got fleet. Did I? I must have, because I'm pretty sure they have it by now. Let me search for it. Fleet. So they got it. In fact, they didn't get it here. So this is actually, in some ways, a risky plan for my opponent, because if I draw well, I should be able to empty counterfeits and sacrifices and probably also score enough to overcome them. But I think I'm ahead enough that maybe it's okay. But I have a total dud here. So yeah, I just build up my draw a little bit more, basically. And yeah, that's it. Now my opponent goes ahead and empties piles here. Gets a fleet, empties piles. They think they're going to have an extra turn compared to me. They're already up by 11 points. So I know that this is the last turn I'm going to have because it's my fleet turn. And, well, I gain the silver. I draw as much as possible. You know, sacrifice whatever I need to draw as much as I can. Draw my deck. Gain another silver. In fact, I wasn't able to draw it all. Counterfeit all of my counterfeits, because again, it's the last turn. What am I keeping them around for? Counterfeit the relic, because again, why not? And so I end up with more money than this here. How much money do I end up with? Stable, sacrifice the vault. Plays a vault, plays an amulet. Okay, so I have 1 extra money, 2 extra money, 3 extra money because the counterfeits. 4, 5, 6 more money than it says. 7, 8 money than it says. 10, 12. 12 more money than it says. So I have 29 money, which I use to buy a silver. And actually, because I have 29, I should have counted up here. When I played this amulet at the end and gained a silver, I should have counted up here and seen 29 and actually taken a money instead, because it would have let me buy a conquest as opposed to the silver and estate that I end up getting. But it doesn't end up mattering too much. I get a silver, I have enough money for silver, and then a bunch of conquests. It's not actually that many points, it's only 39. But the really important thing here is there's only 6 silvers left, which is really going to limit how much my opponent can score. So probably they just need to get provinces. And yeah, so I have 40 points and they have 18, so I'm up by 22. They basically need to get 4 provinces. And, well, their deck doesn't have enough money to be able to do that, I don't think. They do draw almost all of it, but they only end up with enough money for province duchy. Yeah, not nearly enough. And I'm able to win. So conquest, the big play here. I hope you've enjoyed this, and thanks for watching.